Welcome in. Good morning to Mike Ferry TV. It is the week of August 17th. Time is flying by. The dog days of summer are here, which doesn't mean you can relax and not work. Remember, in the the fall, which is August, September, the kids are going back to school. Everybody's trying to get settled. Everybody wants to make sure that normalcy is in place for October, November, December. This is your chance to shine. Most realtors aren't working in August, and the kids are getting back to school. Most families are there, and if they're going to move before Christmas, they need to do something now. Don't let the dog days of August slow you down. Okay, last week we talked about the expressive personality style. I want to share something is a summation of last week. Hopefully you watched it 3 or 4 times. When dealing with the expressive personality, you'll notice they're involved with multiple things at one time and seem to be almost living on the edge all the time. It's not uncommon for the expressive. They'll talk to you in sweeping statements based on personal decisions versus any facts at all. You'll notice the expressives are very animated in their conversations and their style of clothing, the homes they live in. Compliment them on their animation and they become your best friend. Did you study the characteristics of the expressive? Fast in decision making, high in terms of emotion, very gregarious and unspoken, open and spontaneous, always appear to be rushing around, likes to be the center of attention, rarely allows themselves to be bored, and normally are always late. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Take a look at your prospect list. How many prospects do you have right now? Which ones are which? Who's who in the zoo? Okay? Take 10% of your database and start going through it and selecting and putting an E next to it if they're expressive. We've got to identify in our database expressive, analytical, amiable, and driver with every person. We have to do it with every listing we have, every prospect we have, every lead we have, every transaction we have pending, so we can become better communicators. Remember, the key to this process is to become a great communicator or become a better listener while you're communicating. So the second personality style we want to look at is called the driver personality. And as I said last week, for some reason, everybody says they want to be a driver. I don't understand to save my life. Everybody wants to be a driver. I look at the expressive and say, God, those guys have a lot of fun. I look at the amiable and say, they're so empathetic and they really draw people in with their understanding of people. I look at the analytical and say, I don't want to be one of those. Just kidding, but I don't want to be one of those. So the driver personality, let's look at some of their characteristics, okay? Very low on emotion. You're not going to see drivers break into tears. They many times are not going to break into laughter. They're a much more serious type of person. They make the decisions quickly. Gunther Kloss, one of my mentors for many years, said, if you make 100 decisions a day and you're right 51% of the time, you're going to be a leader in the world. See, the trouble with the analytical, for example, they want to be right all the time, therefore they don't make any decisions. The driver makes decisions quickly. Sometimes I know that my fast decision making drives some of the people in my own company crazy. Happens all the time. Very control-oriented and will take control. If you've watched me do a seminar, you've seen that time and time again. It's 9 o'clock. Get in your chairs. We're beginning. Raise your hands. Say yes. Say no. Stay in your chair. We're taking a break in a minute. Very control-oriented. Love action, okay? We live in Las Vegas. I love going to the casinos and watching the action in the casinos. Forceful. They get things done. The driver personality is going to get things done. They're considered to be very, very dominant, which they are. There's no question about it. Bottom line oriented. Hey, don't tell me about the pain. Show me the baby, for goodness sakes. Seems rushed and impatient, which I hear that about myself all the time. And appears to be aloof and arrogant, which is probably the case. Now, here's the question, okay? You're a driver personality, and you walk into a house, and it's an expressive. I mean, that's just about enough to drive you completely 100% crazy every single time. So remember, I identify their personality style by asking all the pre-qualifying questions and then listening carefully to the answers. When I call back to confirm they've read the pre-listing package, if I'm a driver, I have to patiently let them tell me, if they're expressive, analytical, and amiable, what they thought about the package. Did you read it? Yes. Okay, fine, thanks. You can't do that because the expressive wants to express. The amiable wants to help you, have you understand why they feel how they do. The analytical wants to study the facts in your CMA. All right, that's fine. But as a driver, I have to relate to them. So I'm walking into the expressive's house. I have to slow down because remember, the driver is very, very forceful and impatient. I have to slow down a little bit, take a breath, smile, and say to the expressive, tell me why a buyer should buy your house. And boy, will they tell you. I have to slow down and say to the amiable, help me understand why the next buyer will want to buy this house. What do you love best about it? So I can share that. Do you know how hard that is for a driver to say that? It's like I want to bite my own tongue right off. And for the analytical, the driver has to say, okay, tell me the 4 or 5 most important features. The driver has to say, what are the 3 or 4 facts you have to make a decision right now? And let me give you those facts. You see, if you and I are not willing to adapt, now, I said that last week, we have to adapt. I'm going to say it again next week, we have to adapt. I'm going to say it on the 31st, we have to adapt. Why? Because we have to adapt. The hardest part of understanding the 4 styles is the adaptation, the adaptability, the flexibility, the versatility to become like the people you're talking to at least have an understanding of who they are, to feel comfortable with them and let them feel comfortable with you. So therefore, we have to really look at this driver personality. Now let's look again, bottom line oriented. I just want to see what it's going to sell for if I'm a driver, okay? So I just need to have the bottom line net price. But as a driver, that's all I want to give them. But that may not be what the expressive wants to know. So I want you to think a lot about how you're going to approach the expressive, analytical, and amiable if you are a driver. But then we have to remember, and we said this to you last week, it really doesn't matter who you are. It only matters who they are. And we always have to remove our ego from any type of conversation, communication with the client, because our ego stops us. Remember, ego is when everything revolves around us. And if you take the E off ego, it says go out and talk to people, meet people, become part of what these people are doing so you can do a better job for them. Each week, again, for the next couple weeks, we're going to look at one of the 4 styles. I hope you saw last week's on the expressive. I want you to watch this one virtually every day this week. Study it. And if you're one of the coaching clients watching, study it even more. Because as a coaching client, we want to add 12, 15, 20, 30 deals to your business this year, next year, and the year after. We want to build your business. We can't do it unless you study the styles. Study them, pay attention to them, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.